So, welcome back. Today, we're going to talk about a little bit of a family priority situation for Rodney. But I'm Keith.
And I'm Rodney, and this is our Daily Chronicle, where we talk about family situations and all of the stuff that comes up in our days, because we're trying to show up as our best. We're trying to leave a little something for our daughters to see how they can potentially be their best in the future and build a little bit of a community along the way. So, Keith, you had an idea for this family
Yeah.
scenario that I had come up yesterday. So let's talk about it.
So, like, we've talked a lot about self-care, and we've talked a lot about, personal time, and we've gotten questions on this in the past. And, you had to prioritize family. I don't, and a lot of ways of thinking capitalistically at the cost of your company, right? This even speaks to taking paternity leave and taking that time off. Now, you and Rachel stays at home, but you decided to be a part of this procedure that Ruby needed to have. Regardless of any other circumstance, including our businesses, which by many accounts, like you'll be working 12, 14, 20 hours a day on your own business if you're running your own business to make it successful, right?
Sure.
So what is that framework for making that choice for you?
So, for this, a lot of things. Like one, Ruby had to get her tonsils and adenoids out, and because it's been affecting sleep, and sleep is a really high priority for myself and for my wife, but more so for her because of brain development at 2.5 years old. She's not getting the oxygen that she needs at night. So it's like, it's a no brainer. We got to do it. And want to be there with her, make sure she's not scared, explain the process. And so that was kind of the framework for being there, like making that decision. I took time off from Microsoft, from main job, and ended up taking some time off from our stuff as well. And that was kind of an afterthought. Like, we talked about it, and I said, hey, this is going to be a lighter week, but I'm still taking on these responsibilities. And it kind of flip-flopped for me. So some things came up in my main job that I needed to be a part of, and took some time. So while I was there with Ruby, I was working on some things in pockets where I had some time. So it was kind of like this juggling priority balance act. To your point, I'm the one that works. So it's like, I need to make sure the business is good with the job and prioritize that, and make sure that Ruby knew I was there. I was in the room with her and present every other moment that I wasn't on that. Because of that, our stuff, so these videos, these are the daily. We release these every day. We didn't release them the last 2 days. Today will be the first time that we do, because frankly, I was tired and needed to prioritize Ruby. She needed me with her. So that's kind of does that answer your question?
No. So how does but in that, like, your number one decision was like, I'm gonna be here.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, and I think this is just an important topic in general, especially for dads. Like, how is it that you decided, okay, I'm going to be there? I mean, you had these other things that you needed to do that provide for the family, but you condensed what that means. Yeah.
I get what you're saying. So Rachel and I are working on this like family framework thing, and a large part of it we're stealing from Brene Brown, and like, she's got this family manifesto, and in it's beautifully written. I highly recommend checking it out. And part of it, she kind of talks about, I'm not going to try and take away your pain, but I'm going to be there with you while you're feeling it, and I'm going to be what you need. That's as a parent and as a partner. I'm going to be there with you. I'm going to see you. I'm going to hear you, and you're going to know I'm there. And I think that's something that's just become really core for me in everything, like in family for sure. And that makes that decision really easy. Like, well, I can't take away her pain. Like, she needs to have these removed. That's going to hurt physically. Mentally, she's going to be confused. She's 2.5-year-old. She doesn't have all the brain to rationalize and understand what's going on. So I've got to fill in, or I want to fill in for all of that. Does that better answer your question?
Yeah, no, and I think where I'm leading towards, because I think I know, I mean, this is specifically for me, like,
Hmm.
no matter what in the grand scheme of life, like, if I'm not there in those moments because of somebody else telling me I need to do something, and by somebody else, I mean, that's us too. Like,
Hmm.
together as a business, we are somebody else to our families, right?
Yeah.
Says, oh, well, you need this priority.
Hmm.
To me, it's a no-brainer, right? It's like, oh, okay. Like,
Yeah.
it's unfortunate that that might have a negative impact in that particular area, but I would much rather negatively impact that than negatively impact my kids, right?
100% agree. And I'll
Yeah,
say that, like, from you to the business owners with the other thing I'm working on at work, like, everybody was like, no, prioritize your kids. We'll take care
yeah,
of it,
and which is amazing.
which is fantastic. And
Yeah,
I think there's another conversation to be had at another point about balance and what it means for me and what it means for
yeah,
you.
yeah,
And I was able to look at the procedure and what was happening yesterday from a time standpoint and what I needed to get done and say, okay, I can actually be present enough to help you move enough of this, like move these parts of that along. I'm going to
yeah,
be there for that from a work
yeah,
perspective. And I'm
yeah.
going to be the other 95% here for Ruby
And
and for
I
Rachel.
think that's the thing. I think I take away most from what you said is, like, it's not an all or nothing in either direction,
Mhm.
right? Like,
Yeah.
hey, job, like, I get it, you need me for these things, I'll give you these things.
Mhm.
But at the same time, there is that decision, like, if things are bad over here and things went really well, things turned out, super well for whatever reason, like, all that stuff would go away, right?
Oh,
But
for
you get
sure.
to
No doubt.
that evaluation of attention is a sliding scale
Yeah.
off, but you still focused on the things that you needed to focus on. And quite
Yeah.
honestly, these videos didn't go out, but they're not pressing, right? No one's given us a check yet for producing these videos, so
Right.
hey, we'll take them.
But
Right?
I will say, I will add,
But
even with that, and I mentioned to Rachel and I mentioned it to you
yeah,
earlier, like, I felt bad. Like,
yeah,
consistency is a mark that I'm trying to hit in everything,
yeah,
especially on something that we named the Daily Chronicle. Like, I want to show up
yeah,
every weekday. Like,
yeah,
I want it to be there and out. And I've made that commitment to you and to myself, and even Rachel knows that that's a
yeah,
thing. So sometimes that means I'm up at 11:30 getting it out for the day, and
yeah.
sometimes it done for the week on a like on a Sunday. So
Right.
it just varies, but
So
you nailed
cool.
it.
Hey,
So,
I don't have a question.
I'll ask. So you asked me the question about how I came to prioritizing family, and I think the question for everybody watching is, what do you do? Like, what are your tips for prioritizing the important thing when it needs to be prioritized, especially when there's other important things happening at the same time? How do you balance that?
We're out.